Nothing says high budget sci-fi like a bunch of old fireworks. I am Couch Coop. This is my Outlaws review on the PlayStation 5. I tried to hang out for a second patch, but this is the day one, and this is from Ubisoft. And this game also is running on its quality fidelity mode. This blew my mind. I felt no need to put it onto performance at any stage. I will be uploading this video of 4K. I thoroughly recommend you watch it on a 4K screen or monitor. I also kept those black lines in with the theatrical cinematic mode. You can go full screen. Now this, I think, is where the performance staggers a little bit. That aspect ratio vastly helps it in that fidelity mode, and it looks sweet. It also sounds pretty damn funky with some amazing surround sound. 100% recommend headphones on, full escapism with this one. Now, I will admit that I fell victim to a little bit of the face hate for the main protagonist. Also, Ubisoft in general with their Creed Shadows PR debacle. But I think with this review, I'm kind of looking at social media and video games prior to them coming out in general. To say that I had preconceptions before playing this game was an understatement, and most of them were quashed. I want to explain that I'm far from a Ubisoft shill and have recently put out an Assassin's Creed Valhalla video where I'm sort of pointing out that that whole series has kind of lost its direction. I do like Origins, and Odyssey isn't a terrible game, but Black Flag for the win. If they'd have remade Black Flag 9th gen instead of Mirage, I think it probably would have beaten it on numbers. I also want to explain where I am with Star Wars. I'm a die-hard fan of the first 3 films, and it's only in hindsight that looking at the next 3 that they've got stronger because of how weak the content is in the last decade. So there has been a depletion. I'm not an acolyte fan, and I think most or the general populace of Star Wars fans are from a similar direction. But I am far from a hardcore fan, and if you know about my Star Wars, Lego and the Skywalker saga reviews, I get an expert in. Housemate Sean is a hardcore Star Wars fan. The guy's knowledge on all of the back history, lore and previous media surrounding the IP is phenomenal, and he lined up loads of stuff that they've put into this that really points to some excellent fan service. But is it a good third-person open world ARPG full stop, regardless of that Star Wars nostalgia? We're going to find that out in this video, and despite what you've been reading or seeing or any other reviews, remember this is after that big patch, and it is a damn big patch. And also be reminded, and it's on the front cover of the actual game itself, you do need to be connected to the internet to actually install this game full stop, but then it is thereon after completely offline. This game is attempting 3 major things: a huge open world system that spans 6 different planets and some intergalactic or interstellar combat, a system that's also sort of crime lord based and gang faction focused. You sort of win alliances and get perks from those friendships. Then it also leans on some of its heritage with its Assassin's Creed style platforming, swinging around, combat that leans a little bit on the Division with its range, even close quarters, but more importantly quite a lot of sneak. So there is a lot to cram into that game model, and bits of those aforementioned, they sort of crop up separately. Rarely does it get it all in the same place at the same time, but that sneak stuff is surprisingly well handled. You may have seen reels of low detection, stormtroopers not knowing what's going on. It's far from that when you actually sit down with it in reality. We also get a Red Dead Redemption bullet time mode, which I wasn't aware was a thing, and it does kind of work within the game's ideas. Now, let's start officially with visuals. And what Ubisoft has said about this game, it got so much flack. They were walking around saying it was a quadruple A, and all of this brand new tech is going to be in there. It's going to be the biggest sort of Star Wars video game ever to be made. Some of that is actually true. How they are doing this with the graphics and mist draw distance, sheer beautiful smooth frame rates on a fidelity mode, even on and off that bike, is beyond me. There are so many. How are Ubisoft doing this shots? It's going to get annoying, but I have to point it out. Every square inch of this game is beautiful, and as a non-hardcore Star Wars fan, so some of these planets are obviously canon, they're beautiful in their own right. You don't even have to line up Tatooine with what you've seen in the films. As a standalone open world game, they are just amazing creations.
Those bandits? Oh, come on! Shoot that! Get down! She's escaping! Blast them!
So looking behind you, GTA style on the bike is totally awesome, and being chased down by bandits is amazing. They've all got better bikes than you, but get this, you cannot at this stage of the game that I'm in fire from your vehicle. You can however do the red eye dead eye thing, which resulted in an early game complete piece of brilliance, and I was like, uh-oh, this could be love at first sight.
You alive back there, buddy? I know. What are we doing? There we go.
It's the positioning of this game within Star Wars lore is kind of what appeals to me. If you imagine powerful Siths and Jedis being in the center of a circle, this is almost the parameter. You're dealing with bandits, different clans and groups, the odd recognizable face, but it's all about that underbelly and crime that goes on within that Star Wars canon at these cool little bases and planets that really does draw you in. There are no lightsabers and Siths and Jedi Knights. This is not Survivor.
Want to see me go for the high score?
So what is this game then? Well, it is kind of something else. I was listening to some people in a video game shop talk about this as they pointed at all the pre-owned returned versions on the shelf, and one of them went, it's just Assassin's Creed in space, and that is quite far from what this game is trying to do. It wants to be a bit more diplomatic than that and sort of throw choices at you more like the Dragon Age games do, and it throws back quite a lot of dialogue to you and choice, major choice. In actual fact, you cannot be friends with all of the major factions. You have to annoy some of them. This then points into vast areas of certain planets being difficult to access, and that puts mission markers in areas that you have to sneak around in, and this can cause a massive headache, and for me broke some of the progression. We will get to that in a second. This is a sprint through one of the busier areas of one of the largest cities. I'm trying to catch some pop in, I'm trying to see some low textures or frame drops. Nothing. I'm also looking for repeated assets, something that reminds me of any of their previous games, be it a tiny bit of furniture, be it maybe a character model, even an animation, something that says this is lifted from Creed. As far as I can see, everything seems to be original and built from the ground up, and that also goes for this lighting and engine change, interior and exterior. It really enhances the combat. I'd love to hear if it looks this good on performance mode. And when you get outside, they've dovetailed in this with the weather mechanics and some of that wind. It is feeling like a brand new engine, and they'll be using loads of this stuff for the new Assassin's Creed. And that points me back to that quadruple A thing. Despite that being a hilarious comment, I can see what they're going on about. They've obviously invested loads into improving visually what Ubisoft games look like. Let's also have the chat about the game's size. After about an hour and a half, you'll probably have 16 plus quests coming out of your ears, including 4 main quests that you have to do on that planet, and just about every upgrade or cosmetic change or something you want to do to that bike or that gun has a quest behind it, as opposed to just an out and out purchase. It looks like the devs have been playing their Monster Hunter with this awesome droid cooking scene. Let's have the talk about Nix, the companion, because he is a gimmick put there to A, appeal to maybe the younger audience. This game is a 12, remember, you don't really see a drop of blood in the whole campaign. And B, it's also a combat tool. You can send it out to pick up or distract. It isn't the new Jar Jar Binks. It's bearable. I didn't connect too many memories of when Lilo and Stitch came out, when Disney was good. Cheers for that. But my point being, this whole scene that you've watched with the cooking and the meal, this is the upgrade system to strengthen some of Nix's powers, and they are not very game changing. One of them is extend the time that you're distracting your enemies with that move, and to tell you the truth, Nix is not the first thing that comes to mind when you're getting the shit shot out of you by 16 stormtroopers.
Your friend's smart. I'll be back if I notice any more errors.
Let's get to the stormtroopers and that conversation about the parameters of the law. You're basically quite impartial. You're not aligned with the rebels or the Galactic Empire. So when you're walking around the big cities and villages, if you're not at a wanted level, which we will get to, they'll just ignore you. And I think some of that may have been going on with the early footage that we saw on the social medias.
Ilira was talking about. Keep your voice down. She's looking at us.
The faction alignment thing is actually massive, and the perks that surround being good with a particular group means that you get cosmetic rewards, you even get access to a lot of their loot within their areas of map, and some quests completely exist within the territories of mentioned factions. So it's difficult to choose. You do have to make a choice. It's not locked in. You can start backpedaling and double crossing. So there is a massive layer of interest there, and it is all aligned with legit Star Wars lore. Here comes the first of many. Remember, this is a dynamic day and night system, so this is pure coincidence, the outro of this side quest. How are Ubisoft doing this? Can we actually get out there and see some stuff now, Koo? Because it feels like we've been milling around a cellar for the last 15 minutes. I want to see open world, I want to see the bike, I want to see crazy indigenous life, ad hoc fights. Bring it on. Let me just break this scene down for you. I befriended these little mutant mongoose things. I petted one of them, and the whole troop is now hanging around with me wherever I stand. And I'm doing that. Let's just get at a junction, watch everything go by, see how many variants there are on the vehicles, are there any repeats. Everything is fresh as. I'm just annoyed you can't interact with them too much. And we will get to what I consider quite a stagnant vehicle system towards the end of the video. But for what we do get on that bike with the upgrades, there's a jump, there's a boost, there's all manner of handbrake turn action to be had. It's pretty damned enjoyable.
Stolen Imperial property, huh? How can I say no?
Now this is one of the open world events unfolding. They come in a few formats, normally protect the village, sometimes there's a pirate base, but it's stormtroopers, they land in their vehicle. It's up to you to sort of get involved, intervene, steal treasure, work out who's fighting who, and again, the intensity is ridiculous. I'll spare the indignity of watching me get up the side of this mountain, but once on top and realizing what you're dealing with in engine, that ship was not there before. All of this is sort of unfolding in real time. The stormtroopers are going over to rough them up, and I'm creeping in, grenade in hand. Pretty intense and cool feeling stuff. It's very much good adventure building.
Here. Nothing here.
Look out! Come on, Nix! They're after us!
Thought I was playing Vanquish there for a minute, just vaulted the barrier. There is no allocated cover button, which does take some getting used to. And also that pistol is your only projectile weapon in that hand, but you can pick up like guest, stormtrooper and rebel weapons that only last for that clip, but that doesn't stop you having a lot of fun.
Just a hole.
Luck's holding out.
There are full-on grenade launchers and sniper rifles, and you also get an electricity switch out on your pistol pretty early. There's also loads of off-track activities and locations. You know, when you're playing Fallout and you find this like huge underground station and you think to yourself, this is part of a quest, I shouldn't kind of be here. That never happened. All of these areas were completely fresh and off campaign, and they had pretty cool rewards in them. That whole loot mechanic is cancelled because you don't have to worry about what's lying on the ground. You can get a guessed weapon, but more importantly, a part to upgrade your actual pistol. That's kind of where the loot incentive lies, is finding those different components. There's also quite a lot of detail to be noticed on enemy animation and what they're doing. After I work out who I'm supposed to be fighting for here, I go in and manage to get a pirate to drop their grenade mid-throw, resulting in quite a big friendly fire incident. Damn cool stuff. Whilst testing Nix's drowning mechanics, I thought it's a good idea to check out some of these reflections. And yes, I am going to say it again, and I don't or haven't even bothered looking at whether the ray tracing is switched on or off or what stage it's all on, but dang those reflections. How are Ubisoft doing this? Okay, let's talk detection and AI in general. It is quite hit and miss with the game. What it should be showing me here is that I'm in hidden status, and it does that by curving the screen on the edges like most other video games would. But that trooper over on the right, I am well within their vision cone, and the guy on the left, it's weird and you don't really know where you stand with it. It's a bit better once you get to interiors, but externally it's kind of a gamble. I don't know whether this is deliberate. I do have to have a cheeky shot at the AT-AT. Be rude not to.
Can't get past that armor. They're coming for us. Next, let's go.
You're also going to be met with a whole ton of main quest padding and internal puzzles and dealing with traversal against stuff that isn't intuitively obvious to you, and it will take time. I think they've just done this to make sure there's enough hours in the game full stop, but this stuff spans onto subquests and those component tasks, which gets quite frustrating because you're just looking for a boost that was promised for your hover bike and you end up doing a whole bunch of stuff that makes Indiana Jones look like an amateur climber. So here's one of the confusing open world events. What'll happen is you'll be riding around, the announcer will go, look, there's a pirate raid happening, the Imperial Guard are going to get some of their stuff back. She'll be like, oh, some free stuff. You rock up, they rock up, everybody fights everybody. You're not too sure who you're supposed to be aiming for, but everyone knows that they should be aiming at you. The objectives are quite blurred. You're not sure if you're getting treasure, eliminating everybody. Sometimes they don't even disappear off the map as an event, but sometimes you get that nice little windscreen. The protective ones are a bit less janky than these stormtrooper arrival on the pirate camp examples. But it's still loads of cool, awesome Star Wars fun, and by this stage some of the pirates have got electric shields, they might even have their own droid. You need to switch out different loadouts on the pistol to make sure that you're dealing with stuff quickly. You often get charged and pushed from cover, and all the while you've got these amazing explosions and mist and sounds that you associate with the film and any other pretty cool open world Ubisoft experience. Okay, let's talk about the space travel and space combat. You're kind of blue-balled at the beginning and given a rocket drive which could just take you to another section of that same planet. You have to go to quite a major quest to get off to the other worlds.
This is our lucky day. 2 ships to gut.
More of them? Oh, come on. We were stealing this first.
Most of the early space combat is scripted to the campaign, but you will get a bit of optional piracy, and also passive cargo ships appear when you arrive at a destination or when you go to leave one. You have to instigate the hyperdrive when in outer space. I wouldn't say this is the strongest of the game's aspects. Elite Dangerous doesn't need to start crapping itself, but No Man's Sky, this is not massively below par what that game has to offer, but you are locked on ship type. It does come with upgrades on weapons and missile and hull and slight cosmetic directions. I managed to change the colour of my jets out pretty early, but it is not terrible, and it totally works and does add another level of excitement to your journey to these other planets. There's a mission that I'm not going to show too much of, but it basically involves you going into a Death Star equivalent, hightailing it out of there under extreme fire, Han Solo style. So up to this point, I've been playing for about 16-15 hours and I haven't encountered one single glitch. No major frame drop and nothing on the hard crash front. I do have a few more coming up, but I forced a glitch because an enemy actually went into a section of map. I could see them clipped out, I interacted with them, and then it pulled me into said section. That was the only major thing. This is not a bug heavy game. You rarely get to say that about Ubisoft open world games on their sort of first 3 months, let's say. But I did not get a look at this game on day one, and put in the comments if you had a tough time with it, if that patch did actually change anything for you. Is everything just as it was? Alright, pack your bags because we're going to one of two of the major planets that are given to you early on after the drive is installed in your broken ship. You do get a city, snowy metropolis, but it doesn't have any outside areas. There's two major worlds that really got my interest, and this is certainly one of them. It's a tropical planet full of greens and rain. There's always moisture everywhere. The architecture is phenomenal, and it's a real jump from the previous location. There is a bit of strange black shadow appearing on that entry screen, and also that was one of the PR reels that went out, was how flawless going in and out of the planets were. We weren't told there are only 6 of them back then, but regardless, the change, the work that's gone into what's on these planets, the rich environments and different people you're dealing with, that boils down to the indigenous life, traders and city layouts. It's unfathomable how they managed to get all of this detail over on a completely separate level 6 times over. If you compare the starfield detail on planetary surfaces, you can see how that CPU is just spread over whatever it is, 180 or something. With this, it's 6 absolute stunners, and I'm pretty sure that some of you might feel the same after playing this, that level of detail gone into just 6 locations is quite valuable, and there's loads to be pulled from going to these different planets. We do have 2 more. I'm not going to reveal them. You've got 1 more. We are going to go to Tatooine towards the end of the video, and to say that those sunsets blew my friggin' head off is an understatement.
You're behind on taxes, citizen.
I don't owe you anything.
You pay the satraps and they pay us. See how this works?
But my chara crop doesn't seed until the monsoons are over.
And talking to my poor brain, once getting to the new planet, I'm realizing that there's just as much to do. There's a new faction. There's probably more locations to visit. I'm on my bike, I'm going through the rainforest, I'm looking at all this incredible detail on the landscape, and there's new flying birds and insects buzzing around. Everything is fresh, and I'm just thinking I've got this 5 more times. I'm also looking to switch allegiances over to the Hutt clan because I just want to see Jabba, but bear this in mind, falling out with that Crimson Dawn early on in the game is not the greatest idea. Being up with the other factions is great, but loads of those early quests are right smack bang in the middle of Crimson Dawn territory. And the homage work, the modelling on these dudes from the original films is absolutely amazing. I was like, yes, this is a tiny part of a huge detail nod with loads loads of really cool Star Wars characters. No Rancor fight as of yet though. And yes, the wet look physics and weather, wind and lashing rain on this planet did force me to say it, and you can all say it together with me. How are Ubisoft doing this? I do just want to discuss the laws of the road, or lack of them. There is no real reaction to pointing to a friendly NPC. You get a green reticle, meaning that you can't really do them any damage. Your gun may not even work, but there isn't anyone getting off their vehicle. There's no beef. You can't steal anything. And I was thinking about that. If all of that Imperial Guard equipment was available to you, AT-ATs stealing some of their tanks, or even using some of these cool bikes like you would on a GTA game, that would add a massive layer of depth, and I think they probably had to let that go. You are really just locked on to that bike, but it does get pretty cool. There is also, after playing Fallen Order and Jedi Soul Survivor, a massive lack of monsters and scary creatures. They could have put all of this like Ark stuff in the forests and made you use your blaster on certain hunting quests to go and get a giant queen and something like that. It's very much human to human, which is okay. There may be a little bit more further down the line, but I have not seen enough indigenous scary stuff jumping out at you. Back to that AI thing and that whole sort of middle ground of stormtroopers being derpy and blind AF is kind of a Star Wars running joke. It's difficult to tell whether that low detection or lack of alertness is deliberate or not, but it carries off okay, just about okay. I think there needs to be improvement, and it probably will when the game gets harder on some of that enemy AI. We are at Tatooine. My God, say it with me.
I've put us down near where Haas was arrested.
I thought, after binging social media prior to this game coming out, that it was made by a bunch of woke amateurs. That only really becomes apparent when you dissect areas of the writing. But after actually playing it for 30 plus hours and seeing what it's got to show me, it is far from that. And whoever Ubisoft have got on their team from way back, like the legacy guys, some of them are obviously still there. And whoever they've got in to improve this engine, whether it be through LucasArts or whoever, knows what they're doing and knows how to make an open world game look completely current gen.
Hey, okay. I wish I knew what that meant.
They've managed to recognise the whole Tatooine classic western parallels and the little villages. There's even a sheriff. He gives you a perk on your sharpshooting skills. Everything is in the right place to make you feel like you're actually in some sort of variant of those original films. Something else weird has happened to me with it as well, and I haven't had this since Resident Evil 5 World. I had it with that Iceborne Monster Hunter World, and I think I'll probably get some laughs in the comments about this, and rightfully so. I am 45 years old, but the game, the physical game, it can't leave my sight. Like, I've got it on my desk when I'm working at my desk, and I've got it under the TV when I'm playing it. When I go to bed, I put it right next to the phone. I have to have it near me. I'm really obsessed with it. I've got to see these last two planets. I don't get like that with Ubisoft games. Getting Natalie Portman in to play a sci-fi bassoon must have cost an absolute fortune though. There's not a single square inch of this game that doesn't look absolutely Star Wars perfect. When you walk around markets, you go in back alleys, there's different people cooking or welding something. It feels so alive. With those headphones on, you've got these different conversations on the surround sound, different languages. It's absolutely crazy how immersive it is when you actually get a pair of headphones on. Stuff like Horizon Forbidden West or even bigger games like GTA 5, I don't sit there with headphones on in awe at the sound design. I just don't. But with this, once I tried it, it was like never taking them off. This game needs to be played with those bad boys on. Because the channel's not exactly skill up when it comes to size and revenue, I have kind of one slot for a AAA or quadruple A game in it, and this would have to be switched out for Space Marine 2, but I am not prepared to let it go yet. I've got to get to the end of it. There's a strange ground with being a content creator in new video games is you have to make the decision about whether to get that content out or delve deeper into the game that you're currently reviewing, and I've chosen now to sort of step away and talk about the game, and I would say I was about 45% through that main content. I'm just not prepared to step away from it yet. My Tatooine Star Wars adventure has only just got started. I've got to get in with the Hutt Boys and cause all manner of disruption in and around the galaxy. I didn't get that with the recent Spider-Man 2, and I certainly didn't have that with Valhalla, so this is doing something right with me, and I'm so interested in what you guys have got to say, because you would have looked at these other reviews and you might say the endgame's terrible, you should look, it makes it all, you know, devalued as an actual journey, but I haven't got there yet, and for where I am at the moment, I'm having an absolutely perfect Star Wars adventure, one of the best looking open world Star Wars adventures I've ever had. I think keeping hold of it also might work out for another patch review. That must be very close, and there will be huge amounts of DLC. They'll definitely give us a new planet, and I also want to show you guys some of the end game environments and planets. So this will 100% pop up in the conversation at the end of the year for Game of the Year, whether or not it's going to get past anything we've got coming up next or that has been on this front so far this year is another debate. I've really learned my lesson about listening to rhetoric prior to a video game coming out and sort of half making my mind up just on a few stupid headlines. Don't fall into that trap and get this game, enjoy it. I got it for £55 pre-owned, and obviously I gave them some trade-in, so it was a minimal cost, and I think it is technically worth the ticket price. Maybe not the ticket name of quadruple A, but I think that AI and some of its bugs will just be ironed out and tightened up in the next few months with some more patches. Where would this have gone in that list I made? Top Star Wars games, 8th and 9th gen. That's a real toughie. I love Jedi Soul Survivor and Fallen Order because of my Souls-like heritage, and I love the saber combat and all that closeness with the enemy. With this, it's a full-on adventure game, giving you loads of diplomacy, behind-the-scenes decisions, and awesome loot to tinker around with, loads of different outfits and NPCs to interact with, but still with some okay range combat and cover mechanics. Please give us a new Splinter Cell split screen, Ubisoft. I am also holding out for some more beasties and nasties on the different planets and locations, and they are 100% missing a trick if they don't have a huge section of the main quest or loads of side quests that revolve around going out and hunting cool monsters.
Whoa.
So my conclusion is, this is going to be very appealing to Star Wars fans and Star Wars hardcore fans. This is also going to be pretty damned appealing to Ubisoft fans, people who liked The Division or got involved with some of the earlier Assassin's Creed games. It's kind of win-win and works. You can get to the end. This is not a cyberpunk situation where the main quest line didn't even function. Again, we find ourselves at one of those screens. I don't need to keep saying it, I will. Ubisoft, how are you doing this? I have been Couch Coop. We'll see you down there.
They're fixing races. Yeah.
You did your job.
Uh-huh.